Okay, so now we're going to work with problems where x is down low. And I should have made it clear, and I will now, that when x is on high or x is down low, we are always solving for the length of a side. It's either the adjacent or it's the opposite side. So again, make sure your triangle's in degree mode. You have your home screen, and you go 5, 2, check to make sure it's in degree, come down all the way to the bottom, make it default, hit OK, and you're ready to go back over to calculate and scratch pad. And you're going to go through the same things you did yesterday in the exact same order. First you'll put an equal sign, you'll put in the degrees of the theta angle, you decide if it's a sine, cosine, or tangent problem, and based on that you'll set up your ratio on the right hand side correctly. So let's try 3 problems for an x is down low. Pulling this up here. We're going to label first. I always said go find your hypotenuse. Why don't we take a minute and do that on all 3. It's always across from the right angle. It's the longest side. It cannot be the adjacent, and it cannot be the opposite. The angle they give you has to be your theta angle. Let's go ahead and do that for all 3 also. And I said that's like you're standing there. Put a smiley face on it. Now you've got to name this pink side. Is it touching the theta angle? Yes. So it's your adjacent. Let's look at problem 2. Where's our adjacent? It cannot be the hypotenuse. So this is the side that's touching. And again, if we look at our third problem, there's our theta. I'm going to put my smiley faces in. A little tough with my camera equipment. There we go. The adjacent is never the hypotenuse. So here's the other side that touches theta. Oh, here, I've been doing that in color for you. We've got all 3 adjacents labeled. An adjacent here, an adjacent here, adjacent here. That means the other side is the side that's completely across the triangle from theta. Come all the way across. Here's my opposite. All the way across, my opposite. All the way across, opposite. To set up an equation, we always start with an equal sign. We always put our theta in. And then we have to look at where x is. That has to be part of the equation. And we look at what one side they gave me, the opposite. So I have to decide which function uses O and H to decide if I'm using sine, cosine, or tangent. And then I set up the ratio. And we always remember sine equals opposite over hypotenuse, because some old hippie. Cosine equals adjacent over hypotenuse, caught another hippie. Tangent is the opposite over the adjacent, tripping over apples. Since we need to use O and H, it has to be sine. And since it's opposite over hypotenuse, we put the 15, the length of the opposite, over the x. Oh look, x is now in the denominator. X is down low. And in the Getting Trig in It video, they say x in the trig, or x in the angle, will switch, you know. And mathematically, that's allowed by the algebraic properties of proportions we talked about a couple of units ago. So that means x will equal 15 divided by that number stored that equals sine 34. And in the calculator, I'm going to say 15, whoops, we're going to delete, get my screen clear. 15 divided by, go to my trig button, hit sine, 34, hit enter. My answer is 26.8244. X equals 26.8244. We just solved one. Let's try the next one. Equal sign first. Your theta angle where you're standing is 19 degrees. We're going to have to use something that has our adjacent and our hypotenuse, because this is the only length we know, and this is the length we have to know. So, adjacent and hypotenuse, A and H, that's a cosine problem. And cosine is always set the adjacent, which is 20 in the numerator, And the hypotenuse we don't know in the denominator. Since x is down low, x and the angle information will switch, you know. So x will equal 20 divided by the value called cosine 19, stored in your calculator. So we will go 20 divided by, hit the trig button, cursor over to cosine, and we'll put in the 19. And the answer, whoops, my whole paper just moved, sorry. X will equal 21.1524. They asked you to round it to the 10th position. This is the position, so we'd look just to the right, and this number is 5 or higher. We raise it to 0.2. So that would be to the 10th position, just for a little bit of rounding practice. Okay, we have one problem left on this sheet. Our theta angle is 29 degrees. It goes in after equal sign. Our information we have to work with is we have to know how big the adjacent is, and they gave us the opposite. So which one of our functions, back from over here, uses opposite and adjacent, and its tangent? So the tangent of angle 29 will equal the length of the opposite, which is 17, over the adjacent we don't know. X is down low, so the angle information in x will switch, you know, and x will equal 17 divided by, so I'm using the fraction bar for the divided by, tan 29. And in the calculator, I am putting 17 divided by trig tan 29, enter. X equals 30.6688. Let's round this one to the 100th position, which is this position, which says look to the right. We get 30.67, since the 8's 5 or higher. X down low.